Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're not just going to look at the technical specifications of an aircraft, we're going to dissect a ghost. We're going to step into the soul of the Mitsubishi A6M Zero, the machine that shaped the entire Pacific War. But to truly understand this machine, you must understand the two completely opposing worlds that created it. One world of absolute stillness and another of deafening, bone-shaking fury. We will examine how a dream of perfection transformed into a nightmare of reality. If you love stories that go deep into history and engineering, make sure you subscribe right now, because today's story will be unlike anything you've ever heard. This story does not begin in the sky, it begins in a room filled with the smell of graphite, cedar wood, and old tea. It is the year 1937 in Nagoya, Japan. Imagine a space so quiet it feels unsettling. The light here is sterilized white pouring through large industrial windows. This is the domain of Jiro Horikoshi, the brilliant chief engineer. He stands before a drafting table, stretched wide like a blank canvas overflowing with possibility. In this room, there is no blood, no fire, and no fear. Only flat geometry. Jiro lifts a pencil. To him, what he is designing is not a weapon of war. It is a mathematical sculpture. He is obsessed with a single poetic concept, the elimination of weight. In Jiro's mind, weight is a sin. Weight is the enemy of flight. He closes his eyes and imagines a curve. Thin, elegant line so delicate it could trick gravity itself. He presses the pencil to the paper, drawing a smooth arc representing the wings. It is beautiful. It is perfect. In this quiet room, the Zero is an art masterpiece freed from the clumsy laws of physics. Now, open your eyes wide. That stillness is instantly torn apart. The gentle scent of cedar is replaced by the harsh stench of high-octane fuel and sour sweat. You are no longer Jiro. You are the pilot, and the year is 1941. That delicate pencil line Jiro drew, you are sitting inside it. But here in this brutal physical world, that pencil line is a sheet of extra super duralumin alloy, thin as a coin. Feel the vibrations rattling your teeth together. The tremors begin at the base of your spine and punch upward into your skull. You are strapped into a rigid metal seat, and the only thing separating your flesh from the freezing wind outside is that thin, fragile skin of metal. Jiro designed this aircraft to dance through the sky, but he is not the one sitting in your position. He is not the one feeling the engine torque try to twist the airframe apart. Run your gloved hand along the cockpit wall. It feels flimsy, doesn't it? That is the result of Jiro's obsession. To make this aircraft the fastest and longest range fighter in the world, he stripped away everything that could have kept you safe. He traded your survival for performance. As you roll down the runway, the heat rising from the tropical asphalt distorts the air, making the outside world look like an illusion. You look at the rivets holding this iron bird together and realize something terrifying. This machine was not built to protect you, it was built to consume you. The engine roars a mechanical scream, drowning out every thought in your head. You are sitting on an unprotected fuel tank. You are surrounded by metal as thin as paper. The engineer saw a dream of flight, but you, the pilot, are strapped into a beautiful, fragile coffin. When the wheels leave the ground, you hang suspended between Jiro's genius and your own mortality. The beauty of the design is undeniable, but up here, beauty is cold comfort when you realize how cheap your life truly is. The tragedy of the Zero was written long before the first rivet was driven into its frame. It was written in ink on a crisp, sharp sheet of paper. Back in the design room, Jiro Horikoshi holds a document called the 12 She Carrier Fighter Requirements. To an ordinary person, it looks like a standard military request. But to an engineer, it is a puzzle designed by a madman. The Imperial Navy demanded the impossible. They wanted a fighter with the agility of a gymnast, the punching power of a heavyweight boxer, and the endurance of a marathon runner. Specifically, they demanded a range of over 3,000 kilometers. They wanted it to fly across the ocean, fight, and return. And here is the cruelest joke: they demanded all of this while providing only a pathetically weak engine. The Nakajima Sakai produced barely 1,000 horsepower, only a fraction of what American engines could output. Look at Jiro's face as he studies these numbers. He does not panic, he does not crumple the paper in despair. Instead, a faint intellectual smile appears on his lips. To him, this is not a death sentence for the men who would fly it. It is a fascinating puzzle. It is a physics problem waiting to be solved. He sees variables floating in the air. If the engine is weak, the plane must be light. If the range must be long, the fuel tank must be enormous. But the enormous fuel tank makes the aircraft heavier. It is a paradox. Jiro sharpens his pencil, graphite dust falling onto the desk. He accepts the challenge. He decides that to satisfy the Navy's thirst for range, everything else must be sacrificed. he begins calculating reducing the aircraft into pure mathematics. In his equations, the pilot is just another variable, another mass to be managed, no different from a piston or a propeller blade. Now let the scene shift. Let the white office light fade into the harsh blue glare of the Pacific. You are that variable. You are the flesh and blood solution to Jiro's equation. You are 3 hours into an 8-hour mission. The Navy got the range they wanted, but you are paying for it with your sanity. The Zero's cockpit was not designed for human comfort. It was designed for mechanical efficiency. You are folded into a space barely larger than an oil drum. The engine vibrations have passed the point of discomfort and become a permanent numbness in your bones. Your lower back screams in protest, pressed against the seat with zero lumbar support. The cushion is thin, stiff, and merciless. You try to shift your weight to get blood flowing back into your numb legs, but there is nowhere to move. You are trapped in an aluminum prison. As the Zero climbs to 20,000 feet to save precious fuel, the cockpit temperature plummets. Up here, it is bone-freezing sub-zero cold, gnawing through your flight suit and freezing deep into your joints. Frost forms inside the canopy glass. Your fingers gripping the control stick feel stiff and clumsy. You are breathing pure oxygen through a mask that reeks of rubber and old saliva, creating a rhythmic wheeze that reminds you of your own fragility. And then comes the biological torture. Hours pass. The coffee and water you drank before takeoff are pressing against your bladder. There is no functional relief tube, no pause button, no rest stop. You are forced to endure humiliation and physical pain holding it in or soiling yourself inside a freezing metal box. This is the reality of the 3,000-kilometer range Jiro was so proud of. On paper, it was an engineering triumph, a statistical miracle, allowing Japan to project power across the ocean. But up here, alone in the endless blue void, it is a test of how much human misery the body can withstand. Before it breaks, you check the fuel gauge. Its needle barely moves. You are only halfway through the mission. Jiro solved his puzzle, but his solution is slowly torturing you. In the world of art, minimalism is celebrated. We praise sculptors who chip away excess stone to reveal the beautiful statue within. Jiro Horikoshi was a minimalist, but his medium was not stone. It was aluminum and steel. Back in the sterile quiet of his office, Jiro made an extreme decision, a decision that would determine the fate of thousands. He looked at the blueprints and saw fat. He saw unnecessary weight everywhere. He picked up a red pen, the ink fresh like new blood, and began striking things out. He circled the steel armor plate behind the pilot's seat, a thick slab designed to stop bullets fired into the cockpit from behind. He slashed through it. Too heavy. He circled the self-sealing rubber layers on the fuel tanks, a standard safety feature on nearly all Western fighters. He slashed through it. Too heavy. He even examined the solid structural spars inside the wings and fuselage. They were solid metal. Jiro ordered his team to drill holes into them. Thousands of tiny holes like Swiss cheese, removing grams to save kilograms. These were called lightning holes. Jiro leaned back, admiring his creation. He had not just designed an aircraft, he had purified it. He had stripped away the clumsy bulk of caution. He believed speed and agility were the best armor. If the aircraft was fast enough, if it could turn tight enough, it would never be hit. Therefore, armor was unnecessary. It was a philosophy of absolute arrogance. The belief that the machine could be perfect enough to protect the imperfect human inside it. He saw the absence of armor not as a loss, but as liberation. The aircraft was now lighter, freer, no longer burdened by the ugly, heavy realities of war, but now cut to the cockpit, to your reality. Reach behind you, feel the back of your seat. It is thin aluminum, cold to the touch. There is no steel plate, there is nothing. Your spine, your heart, your lungs, they are protected by nothing but air and a flimsy sheet of metal, which a child could punch through. You are flying in a state of nakedness. The purity Jiro achieved. Up here, it feels like exposure. You are sitting in the sky with a target painted on your back, and you know any stray bullet from behind will not just hit the plane, it will pierce the tail, punch through the seat, and bury itself in you without slowing down. And those lightning holes, you can feel the airframe flexing around you. The aircraft feels alive, yes, but it also feels brittle, fragile. It shudders in turbulence like a frightened animal. And the fuel tanks, they are stuffed inside the wings right beside your elbows. Without the self-sealing rubber Jiro removed, they are simply thin metal containers filled with explosive liquid. One spark, one tracer round, and you will be sitting at the center of a firework. Jiro's red pen did not just remove weight, it removed your second chance at survival. He designed an extremely sharp sword but forgot to give the warrior a shield. He gambled everything on offense, leaving you utterly defenseless. You are the embodiment of that philosophy, fast, agile, and terrifyingly easy to kill. The art of subtraction has left you with nowhere to hide. Kasumigara Test Field, late 1939. It is a perfect day to fly. The sky is a seamless sheet of turquoise, the kind of blue that makes people believe in endless possibilities. Jiro Horikoshi stands on the runway cap, pulled low against the sun, watching his creation take off. From his position safe on the ground, the Mitsubishi Zero is not a weapon. It is a dancer. He watches the test pilot pull the aircraft into a steep climb, the engine humming a pleasant bass note from afar. The aircraft crests the top of a loop and rolls with a grace that seems to mock the clumsy laws of gravity. It looks weightless, like a calligraphy brushstroke drawn across the sky. Jiro's heart swells with pride. He sees the lightness he fought so hard to achieve manifesting itself in pure agility. The aircraft turns on a dime. It changes direction like a dragonfly, spiraling upward. To the observer, it is a ballet. It is the ultimate expression of freedom. Jiro tells himself he has finally conquered the sky, that he has built a machine that moves as fast as human thought. But thought has no weight. Thought does not bleed. Cut immediately now to the cockpit, to the sweaty, straining reality of aerial combat. You are not watching a ballet. You are being crushed in a wrestling match with physics. You are engaged with an American F4F Wildcat. He dives and you follow. You yank the control stick hard into your stomach to pull out of the dive and cut sharply inside his turn. This is the maneuver Jiro admired from the ground, the tight turn that made the Zero legendary. But inside it feels like a car crash that refuses to end. As the nose rises, centrifugal force hits you like a sledgehammer. This is G-force, the invisible giant crushing your chest. You weigh 70 kilos on the ground, but in this turn you weigh nearly 400. The blood in your body, heavy as lead, is ripped from your brain and forced down into your legs. Your cheeks droop, your jaw feels like iron, and your arms grow so heavy you can barely lift them. The aircraft's lightness is what allows it to turn so sharply, and that technical triumph is now squeezing the consciousness out of your brain. Your vision begins to fade. It starts at the edges, a gray fog creeping inward, shrinking your world into a tiny tunnel. This is a gray out. Your brain is starving for oxygen because your heart cannot pump blood uphill against the crushing gravity. You grunt, tense your core, scream silently to force blood back into your head to avoid blacking out. If you black out now, you die. Jiro sees a loop. You feel your vertebrae compress. Jiro sees poetry. You taste the metallic bitterness of adrenaline and bile. The Zero responds instantly to your touch. Almost telepathic, yet it shows no mercy to your biological limits. It demands you endure forces the human body was never designed to experience. You are winning the turning contest, yes. The Wildcat cannot match your turn radius. But victory is physical torment. The machine outperforms the human inside it. It can keep turning forever. You are seconds from losing consciousness. That beautiful dance is in reality a brutal endurance test where the machine is the master and you are just soft, fragile meat trying to keep up. In engineering, there is a term calculated risk. It's a neat euphemism for gambling with probability. In the quiet sanctuary of the design office, not a speck of dust in sight, Jiro Horikoshi made the biggest gamble of his life. He looked at the fuel tanks. On American aircraft, these tanks were wrapped in multiple layers of rubber and chemical compounds that expanded to seal bullet holes. Ugly, heavy, cumbersome. Jiro looked at his sleek, lightweight wing design and made a choice. He removed the self-sealing rubber. He removed the automatic fire extinguishers. To him, the logic was tight, even elegant. He reasoned that if the Zero was lighter, it would be faster. If it was faster, it could shoot down the enemy before the enemy pulled the trigger. It was the philosophy of the samurai sword, a weapon designed only to kill without regard for being struck in return. Jiro placed his trust in the pilot's skill to protect the machine. He believed unmatched maneuverability was the only shield you needed. He looked at the blueprint and saw a predator too fast to be caught. But probability is a ruthless mathematician, and war is no place for elegant theories. Shift perspective now to the chaotic smoke-filled skies over the Solomon Islands. You are the pilot, and you're about to learn what happens when Jiro's gamble fails. You are locked in a turning fight, eyes fixed on the enemy ahead. You feel invincible, master of the sky. But then you hear it. It is not a loud explosion, it is a dull, sickening thunk, like a hammer hitting wet wood. A .50 caliber bullet from a stray burst has found its mark. It didn't hit the engine, it didn't hit you, it punched a clean round hole through the wing root straight into the left fuel tank. On an American plane, the rubber layers would immediately swell, sealing the hole and saving your life. But on your Mitsubishi Zero, there is no rubber. Fuel under high pressure and highly volatile begins spraying into the hollow structure of the wing. It instantly vaporizes in the tropical heat, turning the inside of your aircraft into a fuel-air bomb waiting to ignite. You smell it first, the sharp, choking stench of raw fuel flooding the cockpit. Panic surges in your chest. You know exactly what this means. You look left, and then it happens. The spark, maybe from a second bullet, maybe from the heat of the exhaust. It no longer matters. Boom! The world turns orange. The fire doesn't just burn, it erupts. Flames race along the wing and blast into the cockpit through the floor. In an instant, the temperature skyrockets to over 1,000 degrees. Jiro's calculated risk has turned your workspace into a crematorium. The fire is hungry, devouring aluminum paint and fabric. You are trapped inside a falling torch. The heat is so intense it sears your lungs as you try to scream. You fight the controls, but the cables are melting, snapping under the thermal assault. This is the fatal flaw of the masterpiece. The very fuel that gave you the range to conquer the Pacific is now the fuel that is consuming you. You are no longer fighting the enemy. You are fighting the inevitable result of a technical compromise. As the skin on your hands blisters and tears against the burning metal of the control stick, you realize the brutal irony. The machine designed to be light enough to fly forever is too fragile to survive a single mistake. Jiro's sword has shattered, and you are bleeding on its fragments. Time is a cruel force that rots everything, even legends. By 1945, the tide of war had turned against Japan, and the Mitsubishi Zero, once the predator of the Pacific, had become prey. But the final tragedy of this machine is not that it became obsolete, it is that it became corrupted. Let's return one last time to the eyes of its creator. Jiro Horikoshi walks through a hangar in the final days of the war. The air is thick with the smell of defeat. He approaches a Zero, but he barely recognizes it anymore. The elegant lines he drew in 1937 have been desecrated. Mechanics are welding a huge, ugly steel object to the belly of his masterpiece. It is a 250-kilogram bomb. To ensure it does not fall off during high-speed dives, they do not use a bomb release mechanism. They weld it permanently to the airframe. Jiro stares at this modification in horror. They have destroyed the aircraft's center of gravity. They have ruined its aerodynamics. They have taken his iron bird, crafted to fly and return, and turned it into a clumsy one-way missile. With a heavy heart, he realizes his creation is no longer an aircraft. It is a flying tombstone. The purity of the engineering is gone, replaced by the crude desperation of a losing war. Now enter the cockpit one last time. But you are no longer the seasoned pilot of 1941. You are a boy in your early 20s. You have only a few weeks of flight training. You tie a white hachimaki around your forehead, the cool fabric pressing against your sweat-soaked skin. You climb in, but the aircraft feels wrong. It is heavy, sluggish, lifeless. The 250-kilogram bomb beneath you is draining the soul out of the machine. The lightness is gone. As you throttle up for takeoff, the Zero does not leap into the air. It groans, struggling to lift the dead weight of its own destruction. You are no longer a pilot. You are a guidance system. You are a biological processor plugged into a mechanical circuit to steer a bomb into a steel deck. The flight is a blur of anxiety and adrenaline. Below you, the ocean stretches endless and vast. Ahead, the American fleet fills the horizon like a floating city of steel. You push the control stick forward. The dive begins. This is not the graceful dance of 1939. This is a free fall. The control stick shudders violently in your hands as the speed climbs. The airframe screams metal, stretching to its breaking point. But the true horror lies ahead. The sky erupts into a wall of smoke and fire. Thousands of anti-aircraft guns are firing at you. You are flying into a furnace. You scream not out of courage, but to drown out the terror crushing your chest. You see the carrier deck growing larger, filling your vision. In these final seconds, the contradiction collapses. Jiro's dream of flight and your reality of death merge at the point of impact. The engineer's pencil stroke ends here, not in a graceful curve, but in a fiery, violent period. You are the final component of the machine, and your only purpose now is to disappear into nothingness. Decades have passed since the last engines cooled. The roar of the Nakajima sake is gone, replaced by a silence stretching across time. We find ourselves in Tokyo many years after the war. Jiro Horikoshi is now an old man. He sits in a quiet garden watching the wind move through the leaves. He is honored as a genius, a man who touched the impossible. He writes books, he gives lectures, and he is respected for his contributions to aviation. But look into his eyes when he gazes at the sky. There is a shadow there. He remembers the curve of the wings, the elegance of the design, and the mathematical purity of weight reduction. He remembers the dream of a beautiful airplane, but he also knows what that beauty cost. He lives in a world of peace, a peace built upon the ashes of an entire generation. Those who flew his machine. He is the swordsmith who outlived all the samurai. In the safety of old age, the Zero is only a memory, a ghost that visits him in quiet moments, whispering about unrealized potentials and lives cut short. Now take one final journey. Descend deep below the surface of the Pacific Ocean into the twilight of Truk Lagoon. Here lies the other half of the story. Resting on the sandy floor, covered in eternal darkness, is the skeleton of a Mitsubishi Zero. It is no longer a weapon of war. It is part of the coral reef. The aluminum skin, once polished and gleaming, is now covered in barnacles and soft coral. The lightning holes Jiro drilled to save weight are now pathways for schools of tropical fish. The ocean has reclaimed this metal. And inside the cockpit, the silence is absolute. There is no pilot here, only the remnants of a human being. A buckle from a flight suit, a shoe, perhaps a white shred of a hachimaki, all long decayed. The man who once sat here never had the chance to grow old. He never had the chance to sit in a garden and reflect on his life. His timeline ended the moment the fire consumed him. He is forever young, forever trapped in the aluminum cage Jiro designed. The final contradiction is resolved here under the crushing pressure of the deep sea. The engineer's obsession with lightness has led at last to a heavy grave, an eternal one. The absence of armor, the absence of self-sealing fuel tanks. These technical decisions are now nothing more than rusting artifacts in a museum of tragedy. The Mitsubishi Zero was a masterpiece, yes. It was the pinnacle of what could be achieved with limited resources. It was beautiful, agile, and frightening. But it was also a ruthless master. It demanded perfection from imperfect beings. It required humans to become as expendable as the fuel they burned. When we look at this wreck, we are reminded that technology is never neutral. Every line on a blueprint carries moral weight. The Zero stands as a testament to human brilliance, but also as a monument to human sacrifice. It stands as a warning from history that the pursuit of performance when divorced from the value of human life leads only to a path of destruction, beautiful and efficient, but destruction nonetheless. And that brings us to the end of the journey inside the Mitsubishi Zero. We have explored the brilliance of its creator and the horrifying reality of the pilots who flew it. We have seen how a single machine can be both a work of art and a death trap. This story is a reminder that behind every legendary war machine are human heartbeats that stopped so that legend could live. If this deep dive video gave you a new perspective on World War II aviation, or if you felt the weight of the story we told today, please consider hitting the like button. It truly helps us share these stories with more people. And I have a question for you. Do you think the trade-off was worth it? Was Jiro Horikoshi right to sacrifice safety for performance in order to give his country a fighting chance, or was it a deadly miscalculation? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another flight into history with us. We have many more stories about engineering history and the human spirit waiting for you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining us in this remembrance of the past. See you in the next video. Farewell for now.